On today's episode, we answer your questions, including why the hell couldn't the Knicks get Karl-Anthony Towns involved? We'll get to it in just a sec.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Gavin Schall. I'm your Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. He's Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of the Strictly the Greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. You can check them out on all forms of social media over at thestrict.land. In case you didn't know, this is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving those detailed insight on your favorite team. 5 whole days a week, so be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans and subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. On today's show, we're answering your questions, including why isn't Cat getting the basketball? Why did he go 17 and a half minutes without a shot to end the game? Can rotation changes fix all this? And which bench guy could potentially swing the series? But before we do that, I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And if at our current rate, 8 episodes a week is not enough for you, remember to check out the Locked On Knicks newsletter. It's the one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. It's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Get writing from Alex and I, team of national writers here at Locked On, and potentially win some prizes, including a top prize from Best Buy for $2,500. But Alex, people have heard from us many days in a row. It's time we give them a platform to ask us some questions. So we start off with one in the YouTubes. It comes from at James Johnson LU5KK, maybe luck. I'm just confused as to why Brunson doesn't get Cat more involved. It's almost as if he was intentionally not passing him the ball. Alex, for your take.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it was intentionally not passing Cat the ball. I think that okay, that's actually a lie. I think there was parts of it because I think that Brunson has mostly been told to just go out there and try to generate offense himself. And he's basically following what the directive of the coach is. I mean, it's obvious too that the plan has been the way to try to, avoid the center being stuck on Josh Hart or whatever is to try to run a pick and roll with Josh Hart rather than Cat a lot of times. And that doesn't necessarily work. And, there's not a lot of effort put into putting Cat in his best 2 places, which is one in beyond the 3-point line, preferably in a pick and pop situation where he gets a second to set his feet and, really get into his shot, because he's not a guy that's like super comfortable taking quick trigger threes. So, you want to kind of set him up in a situation like that where he has a second to get a shot off. And then, number 2 is getting him going downhill, which usually you're going to do with just a nice, pick and roll. And it would certainly work better if you had 5 out spacing out there so that he could be the only guy rolling towards the rim, which is the best possible, place for him to be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's like Brunson intentionally doing it to be malicious, which I think is maybe the crux of this comment, saying like he was intentionally not passing him the ball, as if that's like a thing that he's being like, haha, screw Cat, I don't want to give him the ball. I think it's just like they're doing what Tibbs is drawing up or what Tibbs is directing them to do, and those don't put Cat in good positions. And so that's sort of the crux of it for me as to why Cat didn't get involved at the end of the last game, and why he continually, has not been put in situations to get up threes at a high rate, despite being one of the best 3-point shooting bigs in history. And that's like the thing that has the potential to make this team great. And now it's to the point where he's not even really getting downhill opportunities anymore. And pretty much all we're seeing in terms of what he's able to get is like, if he gets that Tobias Harris matchup, he's getting some back to the basket possessions, which I think is like Tibbs's, 90 style platonic ideal of what a big man should do. But that's obviously not the best way to utilize Cat. And unfortunately, that's pretty much the main way that he's been utilized through these first 2 games.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-pronged problem. Some of it is to your point, the personnel out there. 5 out, it just all becomes easier. There's more spacing when he is doubled. The reads are a lot easier, a lot more obvious to be made. Some of it is on Jalen Brunson, frankly. Like our buddy Benji Ritholtz tweeted out the play I was talking about last night and went fairly viral because I think it sort of epitomized the whole game, where Brunson drove and like off of a Cat pick and pop and rose up over a double team when Cat's sitting there like hands held high behind the arc and being like, dude, I'm 40, whatever, probably a 48% 3-point shooter on wide open threes. Like, just give me the basketball. And Brunson chose to shoot over a double team, and that was not a one-off last night. That happened a lot, and he's had tunnel vision. And it was interesting. I got into a conversation with our buddy Prez about this on Twitter, where he was talking about in the Thunder game that's going on tonight. You're seeing Shea literally throw a pass like over his head to like the right corner. He was like, seriously, this is something like the Knicks should draw up and incorporate for Jalen Brunson. And I couldn't help but think back to the 2020 season, where we would frequently see Randall throw those passes, Julius Randall throw those passes to Reggie Bullock that seemed blind, but they weren't really blind because Randall knew he had 2 and he could do math, and Reggie Bullock was in the exact spot he was supposed to be. And we have no way of knowing if like Tibbs has just got away from that, or Brunson is just too small to execute that, which I don't really buy that part. Or Brunson's just unwilling to make those passes. But I do think there are clear-cut ways to get Cat threes or get a shooter like good looks at threes. Like Mikal Bridges got plenty of them in this game. And it's because Brunson is almost always drawing 2 to the basketball. Like, someone is going to be open. It just, if there's a non-shooter on the floor, you can't always punish a team for that. And give Detroit some credit, because they did, I think, a very good job like hedging and recovering on Brunson. We're very aggressive, like showing him bodies and getting back. But even the times when they didn't get back in time, like Brunson couldn't make them pay. And some of it's on Cat, right? Like he has to seek out the basketball. He has to stay spaced. Like, he has a bad habit of just leaking inside the arc at times. And the same is true for OG Anunoby. Same is true for Josh Hart at points. So I think it is a lot of different things coming together, but it is certainly something still worth talking about and worth watching, because what happened the other night is like you're just not going to win a lot of games that way. All right. Our next question comes from Adrian Chatham or Chatham. Some of the same things at Magic Age 683 on X, Twitter. He wants to know, I know we were all shell shocked by game 2, but where do you think we can go from here? Can JB facilitate more in spots, or should the team go with Deuce in the Hart spot, or Mitch in the McHale spot for more minutes and floor balance? He also has a bonus question, but let's answer that first part first.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty well on the record that we think more Deuce minutes would be good at times, and that more Mitch minutes certainly. I mean, I don't understand how Tibbs wasn't more all aboard the Mitch minutes train after the first game, because I think that the best minutes that the Knicks produced in the first game, you know, whether it was in the first half when they started kind of like clawing their way back into the game and making it a game going into halftime after they had fallen down early, or, you know, in the second half when they went on that huge run, they had Mitch and Cat out there and it seemed to work really, really well. Like, you were able to sort of more take advantage of the fact that they then had to put a smaller defender on Cat, but then, you know, like Jalen Duren couldn't really like just muscle Mitch out of the way, and he was still getting offensive rebounds and, you know, defensive rebounds, and still being an intimidator on the inside, like all the good things that you love from Mitchell Robinson, while still getting to have Cat out there and not really suffer too much, because if it's Cat on like Tobias Harris or whatever, like he can handle that matchup pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I think, and then, you know, on the Deuce front, it's been a little touch and go with Deuce to start the postseason so far. Like, I don't think he's looked like his absolute best self, but the defense is always there, and the threat of shooting is way more than Hart. Like, at the very minimum, Deuce is confident in hoisting them, which is more than you can say for Hart at the moment, who is unconfident and not shooting, which teams are taking, and specifically Detroit, you know, now into the playoffs are taking huge notice of, and not, you know, playing him like he's a threat from anywhere short of right next to the basket. So yeah, I think there's a case to be made to play both those guys more. Both the guys have been playing, you know, like 17 to 20 minutes in most games. I think if you add an extra 5 to 7 minutes onto them and maybe subtract that from Hart's minute total and get Hart down to like 30 and just kind of split those minutes between like Deuce and Mitch, depending on what the situation is and what you're trying to accomplish at any given time. Yeah, I think it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think like just to answer the first, like, can JB facilitate more in spots? Yes, he has to decide to do so. Like I almost don't think it's more complicated than that. I do think, like, again, it's on his teammates to stay spaced, but like he has to decide to do so. And I'm assuming Tibbs has shown him the film Clockwork Orange style no less than 5 times. So he hopefully gets that in his head. And I do think, like, to his credit, I thought he did a much better job of that in the fourth quarter. Obviously set Josh Hart up for the dunk that the last 2-minute report showed should have been an opportunity for an and one. Set up McHale for what could have been the game tying 3. So I do think he adjusted as the game went along. We just need that consistently for 4 quarters. And I think that alone solves a lot of the Knicks issues. But yeah, not a lot more to add to your point. I think Deuce, like, solves the cat issue. Like, maybe I'm torn when we have these conversations, right? Because I hear from very smart people. Like, we were talking to, like, Steve Jones, who's like one of the best basketball minds, like, not working for a team out there right now. A guy who's coached in the NBA before. And like, I got into like a whole conversation with him on Twitter today. And his like implication was basically like, when people are saying that coaches like Tibbs are committing malpractice, they're underestimating the fact that there is also a very good coach on the other side going against them. And I want to take that at face value and say, like, sure, like, the Pistons are obviously doing a lot right. Tibbs is obviously very smart. The Knicks are running some stuff that Detroit is cutting off. But I look at something as simple as Deuce, like, where all the data screams that this team is exceptionally good when he's on the floor, or even campaign, like, just when they have the more shooting they have on the floor, the better they play. And their defense does not really suffer when you replace Josh Hart with the Deuce, with the campaign, even though you would think on paper that it should. And we have an overwhelming amount of data that the starting lineup is decidedly mediocre. And I know I've cited this stat a lot, but I'll say it again, like, since the All-Star break, a negative net rating. So I know it seems like on some level, like, lazy and oversimplistic, and not understanding like how multifactorial, like, all the issues the Knicks have are to just say, like, yeah, put Deuce in there, like that solves everything. But I think with the cat issue, like, it just goes a long way, because you just cannot double team him and leave a Deuce McBride wide open. Maybe they start daring Mikal Bridges to shoot, and he's the guy who gets dared instead of Josh Hart. Like, even with all of Mikal's struggles, I still think that is an untenable situation for a defense to leave him open and dare him to shoot. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And then I'm with you on big ball. I think that is a way to beat Detroit at their own game. We've seen Cade, certainly, like, the offense falls off a bit when Mitch is in at center. And last night, the Knicks kind of took him away as a passer, right? I don't think he had an assist in the first half and tried to force him to be a scorer. You have Mitchell Robinson out there. You play that strategy. I think it works incredibly well, because Mitch has been really good as a drop defender. Or if you're bringing Cat into the action, you can still do that. But then the Knicks can just switch it, knowing that they have Mitchell Robinson behind, manning that back line, rebounding, which was an issue for the Knicks, right? They got out rebounded by, I think, 14 in the game. Like, even if that's an oversimplification, like, not an issue with Mitch and Cat out there. And I do think it's worth noting, because it's something we haven't talked about all that much. Like, Cat's rebounding has fallen off a bit since the regular season. So maybe that's something that Mitchell Robinson can help with. But when we come back on Locked On Knicks, can a rotation change fix all this? We'll tell you in just a sec.
But first, we wanted to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. And there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Always important at Madison Square Garden, that's for sure. And last minute deals, that's my favorite part. I'm not an early bird type of guy, always, with going to sports games, concerts, you name it. That's usually more my wife's game. I'm more of like a wake up same day and be like, you know what, let's do this today. So you can get up to 60% off for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, pretty much anything you can get a ticket for. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Gavin, we're back in to keep taking these great questions from everybody. Thank you again to everyone who contributed on Twitter or in the YouTube comment section or wherever you submitted, but we always appreciate it. Although in our next episode, whether you want it or not, we're going to go over some of your takes from our comment section, which went absolutely bonkers today. So we'll keep an eye out for that in the next episode. But this is a second part from Adrian Chatham. We could just tackle this real quick, like one sentence answer. I feel like bonus question. Do you think Tibbs survives the offseason either way? He got his extension, but I honestly think he has raised the floor, but cannot raise the ceiling any further with his lack of imagination and willingness to adjust mid-game. What do you guys think? I think we've seen in the past that if Leon Rose or any general manager for that matter runs it up the line to James Dolan and says, this coach is no good, although he has X number of years left on his contract, Dolan is generally just going to be like, yeah, I don't care, fire him, hire another coach, because it's just money to him at the end of the day. And there's no salary cap on coaches. So whether Tibbs just signed an extension or not, maybe that even makes it easier for Leon Rose to fire him, because he could go, you know what? We're going to still give you the money anyway. Like, you're still getting paid regardless, but we're just going in a different direction. Maybe that was the plan all along. If you want to put your conspiracy hat on, they are friends. So maybe Leon, even knowing that this might be coming at some point, gave Tibbs that extension just to make sure he got his money, which would not be unlike, giving guys camp deals and whatever to try to treat players well. Maybe that's his way of treating a coach well. I don't know, but I don't know if you have anything else to add to that. I think if they lose this series, he should lose his job. If they lose in the next round and it's like a full-on sweep and it's not even close against the Celtics, then I also think he should lose his job. If they somehow, miraculously win this series and then take the Celtics to like 6 or 7 games and actually show some growth as a team, and Tibbs shows growth as a coach, then maybe let him try it again next year. But that's kind of where I'm standing at the moment, and hopefully that's where Leon Rose is too.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on the shoulds. I think in terms of what will happen, if they lose to Detroit, I don't see any world where he's the Knicks coach next year. That I think that would be shocking and frankly kind of an insult to the fans, and more so like an insult to Leon Rose, which would be within Leon Rose's control, unless, to your point, Dolan says no. But based on the type of roster they put together, based on the investment in this roster, if you're saying that the coach isn't the issue, then you can only point your finger like one direction. You're saying you're the issue at that point. So even just out of self-preservation, I could see that happening. And yeah, I think if they lose to the Celtics in 5, I think more likely than not he's gone, but I would not call it a guarantee at that point. There's definitely the reporting from people like Ian Begley. I don't want to mischaracterize it, so this is just how I'm remembering his reporting, but I think it is trending towards like Tibbs potentially being in some danger, where early in the season it was more so that is not on the radar in any meaningful way. So generally, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think he has to win his job back right now more than he has to lose it right now, I guess is the way I would phrase it. All right, let's go to a long question from Matt. Claude 6896. As good as I know Cat is, last night his body language, apathetic disposition, and lack of aggression wasn't exactly inspiring, nor suggestive of wanting the ball, nor even being interested in the outcome from late in the second quarter when Mitch went in and Towns sat and continued to the end of the game as though he was offended by the substitution, which apparently was an issue, as Tibbs was shouting afterwards that it was due to Mitch being the only person who could get a rebound last night. You cannot pin the entirety of fault on Brunson. Personally, I don't think the team wants to play for Tibbs or even likes him and possibly each other. Weirdest game I ever saw. Toxicity is present. Let's bounce back and crush these kids.
Yeah, that was kind of a long way of just saying like some guys definitely seem less interested in playing for this coach on this team than others, and I think that's been pretty abundantly clear. I mean, if I'm being, I don't want to like point fingers because I don't think this is negative. I wouldn't fault any guy for either of these guys for thinking this way, but I think Cat and Mikal are kind of the two guys that you look at consistently, and you can look at their body language and just their general participation level and what's going on the floor, and kind of draw an assumption that they're maybe not the happiest with how things are going so far this year, and how they're being utilized and all that stuff. And you could even tell sort of in Cat's comments, like, Claude in this thing mentioned, that Tibbs sort of took a shot at Cat, I guess if you want to call it like a subtweet, with the Mitch comment saying that Mitch was the only guy that could get a rebound. And Cat was then asked, like, well, what did you think of your involvement tonight? Like, you didn't take a shot for the whole fourth quarter, blah, blah, blah. And just sort of said, I think the exact quote was like, we did what we were told to do, or we did
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do, or whatever. And, it's like, seems pretty obvious that he's not super happy with how he's being utilized either. And I don't totally blame him. Again, it's like, we already talked about it in the first segment, so we don't have to hammer it home, but the guy's been used in suboptimal ways for what his skill set is. And honestly, he was a trooper for most of the year, and it feels like it's just finally boiling over at this point. But I mean, he did put up some phenomenal performances, all of the big point and rebound performances. He was really gutsy all the way up until Mitch came back, like, and after Mitch came back at certain times. But I think that style of play took a little toll on his body this year too, and he's probably feeling that at this point. I don't know. It just seems, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think there is something a little rotten about it. Feels like with this team, and all of them are pros. So I don't think they would ever say it out loud, and like right into a microphone in a press scrum or whatever, like Anthony Edwards style or whatever. But
Yeah.
You can sort of tell based off body language and little cues that these guys are not all necessarily all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think we've heard, like, since early season when Josh Hart had multiple quotes about egos on this team. Like, I think there are camps. I think there is a Brunson, Hart, Tibbs camp where those guys, like, especially because of the Rick Brunson element, I think are rock solid, loyal to Tibbs, fall in line. And I think Brunson to some extent gets rewarded for that by being like the end all be all on this team, and literally taking twice as many shots through 2 games as anyone else on the team outside of OG, who's taken one more than half as many as Brunson. Brunson's taken 54, OG 28, Bridges 27, Cat 25. Just a little ridiculous. I think that is a camp. I think Cat and Mikal might be a little bit of a camp as the newcomers, and I think OG Anunoby is, like, from what I gather, like, listening to people who are more in the know than we are, like, I think he's on an island a little bit. And again, that's not source. That is my very loose Bill Simmons body language doctor style reading of the room, but that's kind of my inclination on it. And we saw with the Mikal comment, right? Like the minutes comment, which I didn't think was that big of a deal. And then you kind of heard from people like, no, that was a thing. Like, Tibbs was pissed about that. Like there has pretty clearly been a disconnect that I think anytime this team is playing poorly comes out in some form or fashion. And you saw it, like, on the court last night. Like, Cat was visibly frustrated when Brunson didn't pass him the ball. OG like dropped his shoulders when Brunson shot over a double team. He was wide open in the corner. And I think it is a real issue when your 2 stars, like, are just not very good at passing out of doubles or passing on drives. Like, we mostly critique Cat for it, but we're really seeing Brunson get exposed in that area right now. And it is hard to have, like, a coherent offense that everyone feels involved with when, like, it is hit or miss whether those 2 are looking to get other people involved. And, like, even like anyone who's played basketball before, Alex, I think knows the feeling of watching a guy who's better than you, like, take a shot over 2 or 3 people. Like, it might go in, but you're not having fun. You don't feel good. And people can rightfully say, like, well, that's what they're getting paid, in OG's case, $40 million for. It's like, to shut up and play defense in that situation. That's fine. But I do think it has a negative effect on a team when you compare it to Oklahoma City, to Cleveland, to Boston, who are so well integrated. And it feels like everyone kind of gets appropriate touches. Everyone, like, even the Celtics with Jason Tatum, like, Derek White scored 30 in game 1. It feels like everyone has a chance to have their night.
Yeah, I'm with you. And don't have too much more to add on that front. So we got a few more rapid fire mailbag questions to get to before the end here. We're going to talk about Jalen Brunson a little bit. We'll talk about one bench player that could potentially make a big difference in this series, and then talk about we've had a few questions like this. Do we really enjoy watching Jalen Brunson play basketball? So we're addressing all that in just a moment.
But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, and sign in on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. You're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. I love playing Xbox on my Fire TV. Me and my girlfriend are playing a really fun two-person game right now, which I forgot the name of conveniently for this ad, but I really enjoy it, and it allows you to play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. And if you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second gen, and Fire TV Cube third gen. All right, a few more questions to go on this mailbag edition of the Locked On Knicks podcast. At Rather Rapid, been 2 years away from Locked On Knicks. Welcome back, RR. Back then, Alex was talking about what a great coach Tibbs is and the great Brunson acquisition. I posted that Brunson is grossly overrated. I withdraw that. Brunson, pound for pound, might be on offense in the top 10 in NBA history. Phenomenal player, and I dislike that some fans have turned on him. How Knicks run their offense is on the coach instead of on Brunson, who was almost single-handedly responsible for making up the deficit late in the fourth quarter. Are we being a little too harsh on Jalen Brunson?
I mean, first off, I give props to Rather Rapid and anyone who keeps tabs on what my takes are anytime. I was doing the math the other day. We've been doing this for like over 6 years now. I think pushing towards 7 years now at this point. So yeah, the fact that anyone can remember what I said 2 years ago when I barely remember what I said last week, big props to you. But welcome back to the show, I guess, like you said. But yeah, I mean, I think it is funny talking about what a great coach Tibbs is. I did feel that way 2 years ago because he made all the adjustments. He unlocked offensive rebounding as like a big skill in the NBA again, which it hadn't been for years. And, I give him props for that still. That said, obviously much lower on him now. And then Brunson, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it. Let's just mix this in with the final question that we received as well, because I think they kind of go together. So at Dripface313, also from YouTube, I can only assume a Pistons fan here. My question is, how embarrassing is it to have to justify Brunson playing shameful basketball? Can you admit if he wasn't on your team, you would hate his unethical basketball? Yeah, shut up. That's my response to that. I mean, I think that the reality is that any player that is not on your team that you are playing against who is good at basketball, you're going to hate everything about what that player does for the most part, even if you respect it or don't respect it. Like the Knicks play Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is just one of the most physically, just dominant players of all time. And I watch him and I go, man, I really freaking hate that this guy is so strong and so long and so tall and so skilled that he can like just do anything he wants to on a basketball court. Jalen Brunson is not tall and long and all those other physical adjectives. The only thing that he is extremely skilled. And so he has to use those skills in ways that score the ball. And the best way that he can do it is use the fact that as much as we had people in our comment section today being like, Brunson's unathletic, Brunson's not this, Brunson's not that, he is athletic. Like he has great endurance. He has great, like, honestly, like health. Like he shakes off your average like ankle turn or whatever, like it's nothing. And we've seen him do that many, many a time. But the other thing with what he does is that he uses that stop-start ability, which we talk about all the time, and that's what helps him generate those free throws. Now, does he sell contact and stuff? Absolutely. But it works for him, and it's a skill. Like, whether you like it or not, like, the modern NBA is basically built on free throws and three-pointers, and that's, like, if you could do those two things, you're a good NBA player in today's day and age, and he does both those things. So, to answer the question, do I feel embarrassed and ashamed, and is his basketball unethical? No, I don't think so. I don't think anything is unethical about playing the game within the parameters of what the game is. I can understand being pissed off about it, though, if you're a fan of another team and you're watching him and you're like, well, nobody on my team can do that. Like, well, yeah, that sucks, but he's good at it. And, so as long as he's on the Knicks, I'm going to like him. And if he ends up on the Sixers or something somehow, then you best believe I'd hate him. And I'd hate watching him play. It's the same thing as like Cam Payne, who I hated last year on the Sixers as a annoying little pest of a man. And now I love on the Knicks doing the same stuff. So I think that's my main thing. It's mostly tribalism. Anyone who's like, I hate how Jalen Brunson plays. Well, yeah, obviously, because he's not on your team. And that's that to me.
As far as the Brunson thing, I was excited about this because my good friend, shout out Matthew Tonis, picked me up. We're going to go see the movie Sinners today, which is an amazing movie, probably best movie of 2025 so far. And he's a big Celtics fan, and he immediately asked me, do you actually like watching Jalen Brunson play basketball? And I said, there are times where like I think his style of play is not necessarily my cup of tea because it is very grinded out. It is very ISO heavy, and like I don't know. I grew up like kind of like loving like the pass first point guard, which I know is a little bit of a dying breed in the NBA, but I, on the whole, like, first of all, just love like what Brunson represents, love Brunson, the person, love the class he brings to the table, but also just like what a freaking competitor the guy is. Like you are, whether you every more power to you if you dislike the way he goes about it, but like you cannot question the competitiveness, like the physical strength relative to his size and his toughness relative to his size. The relentlessness is like, I think top 5, top 10 in the NBA, the way he'll come at you like over and over and over again, roll his ankle, put it back in place, like pop back out there. Like the dude is a killer. And like, that is, I think more than anything else, the quality you want in your star. And he has that in spades. You combine it with the shot making, which is extraordinary for someone as small and as quote unquote unathletic as he is, the footwork, which is just like as impressive of a singular skill, I think is pretty much any NBA player has, short of Steph Curry's shooting. Like he's just a brilliant, technically sound basketball player. And that's kind of what I fall back on and why I love him at the end of the day. But Alex, we have one more question from our guy, Paul. I'm not sure how to say your last name, Paul. I'm going to assume here. Let me know in the comments. Major. Paul Major. Okay. Paul Major 3274. He wants to know. Also, shout out to Paul, always our top YouTube commenter. Really appreciate you, Paul. If you could choose only one bench player apart from Mitch, who would y'all say could make the biggest impact on this series and why? I think we've highlighted a number of times why we both think Deuce is the most obvious answer. Just to like clarify that, I think his defense, like he's like they're like Shamet obviously has 3-point volume, Cam has 3-point volume. Deuce also brings defense, also brings screen navigation to the table. And defensive playmaking, like he had an amazing play against Malik Beasley where he got into his chest, dislodged him, and just took the basketball away. Like he is just a great defensive playmaker, and we didn't really get to see that in game 2. I think it would show up a little more with a little more time. Did hit the crazy bank 3, did hit another 3 later on in the fourth quarter. Do you think there's any case for Cam Payne, who obviously has been the most impactful bench player in this series since he kind of single-handedly won game 1?
Yeah, I guess he would probably be my answer. I'll make a little bit of a case for Landry Shamet. I mean, if he's able to find I mean, it's crazy that he was the first guy off the bench in game 1.
Yeah.
And yet in game 2 played like 3 minutes and it didn't feel like the Tibbs even wanted to play him 3 minutes.
Dude, I don't sorry to interrupt you, but I never get this with Tibbs. Like why even play them? Like what are they supposed to do? Like how can you find a rhythm like that? I don't understand it. But
I'll never understand it either. So I mean, if he's given the latitude to find a rhythm, I think we've seen that he is like the only quick trigger 3-point shooter and was the best, undisputed best 3-point shooter on this team down the stretch of the season. So I still think there's a chance that he could swing a playoff game for them, sort of similar to how Cam Payne did in the first game. All that is to say, it's kind of just what kind of chance will all these guys get? Is Tibbs just going to run a relatively light on bench minutes 7-man rotation the rest of the way out? Who knows? But I would say it could be any of them, as much of a cop-out answer as that is. But I want to give Shamit a little bit of props before we sign off, just because I do think that there is still a chance that he could potentially swing a game here. But anyway, that's all for today. So until next time, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon. Of course, make sure subscribe to the newsletter, lockedondaily.com. You can potentially win a $2,500 Best Buy gift card. That's a lot of Nintendo Switches. If you win that, you could also potentially win a $300 Game Time gift card or a $200 Fanatics card. If you win, all you have to do is subscribe to the Locked On Knicks Daily newsletter at lockedondaily.com anytime between now and April 30th. So only like 8-9 days left or 7 days actually by the time you're listening to this, days left to do that. So get on that, get that done. But until next time, thank you all for listening. And tomorrow we're coming back to roast your YouTube comments. So buckle up. And that's tomorrow. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Talk to you soon. Peace out.